You're listening to Comic Reflections. I'm Nicholas Prom.
And I'm Spencer Valadez.
Oh yeah, this is episode number 26.
Yes, it is.
So we're going to start off with our back issue segment.
Yeah.
Boy, we really need a good title for this segment, so if you want to leave a comment in the comments section or shoot us an email at comic.reflections@gmail.com.
That's right.
We'll maybe pick the best one or something like that.
Yeah, cool.
So
this week I read Submariner #1 from 1968. It was written by Roy Thomas.
Rascally Roy Thomas.
And the art by John
Buscema.
Buscema, yeah, that's right.
Him and his brother Sal were big classic guys over at Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I pulled it from one of your older books, and it seemed like I was jumping into the middle of a story.
Really?
Yeah, but I read a little more, and it's explained. You're not. Just go with it. So I liked it. It was cool. Submariner. I mean, it's his kind of his origin stories. He loses his memory, and it's not the. I wouldn't say it's the hero sub. I mean, there's hero aspects of Submariner, but it's towards the end you realize he's gonna go after humanity next.
Yeah, so, he's definitely conflicted.
Yeah, and I like this about him is that he has hero aspects, but at the same time, he gets pissed off pretty easy. And
yeah, and Namor, because he's just gone back and forth, for one, he's always been an excited character.
Right.
But there's a lack of trust that other characters have for him.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, okay, who are we going to get this time?
Uh-huh.
And,
in the first Avengers series, I mean, he's kind of one of the bad guys. He's kind of a good guy. And,
oh, right. And that was kind of like, yeah, I love that, where it's like he and the Hulk basically teaming up against humanity. And
right,
then,
yeah.
And then, they couldn't get along, and so it's the big battle royale with them and the Avengers. Great.
Yeah,
great
totally.
Stuff.
I dug it.
You should read some of the early X-Men where he and Magneto team up.
Oh, that'd be incredibly crazy.
It is crazy cool.
Awesome. Yeah, so that was one of the books I read this week. Do you have issues you read this week?
Oh yeah, I had read some good old stuff. I had read Astonishing Tales #5 from 1971, and this was a cool thing. It was like the cover stories are Khazar, in the Savage Land stories.
Uh-huh.
And then the backup story is their Doctor Doom solo stories.
Oh, cool.
Okay, and in this one, the Doom story, this is what I'm going to talk about.
Uh-huh.
It's called A Land Enslaved. And it was written by Larry Lieber,
uh-huh.
and with the great art by George Tuska, another classic artist. And here's the story. Doom is returning from a vacation in the Riviera, and he's was just totally disgusted by that. I think it was the Riviera, but the idle rich, and he comes home, okay? But in his absence, the Red Skull has snuck into Latveria and usurped his throne.
Oh, that's excellent.
Okay, and so the Skull and enslaved his people, hence A Land Enslaved.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so as Doom's coming home and he's totally caught off guard, the Skull uses Castle, Doomstadt's, sorry, that's the capital city, but the Castle Doom, defenses against Dr. Doom, and so incapacitates him, catches him off guard, and he encases him in this, this metal, coffin or whatever,
uh-huh.
and he's going to put him on display for all the people to see, the Red Skull, am supreme, and Doom is, whatever. So Doom is just biding his time in this, in the coffin or whatever that he's put him in. He's kind of building up power, right, so he can bust loose and go kick the crap out of the Red Skull. And so he does. He builds up enough power and destroys the case, and he goes after and beats the tar out of these guys, and the Red Skull's on the run and whatever. And it's a really great story. And rather than kill the Red Skull, because you're not going to kill off the Red Skull, he gasses them, and they think that he's shrunk them down to whatever, but it's really a really small size, but it's really a hypnotic gas, and he just puts him in this rocket and sends him off into exile,
Excellent.
whatever. So it's a really fun story. I read about this story. I read about it like in Wizard magazine like 20 years ago.
Oh,
something
cool.
like not quite that long, but long enough. And I'd always wanted to read it, and of course I stumbled across it recently. Very exciting.
That's cool.
It was really fun to get to read that story.
Yeah, that's fun.
And another one that I read this week was Captain America number 110 from 1969, and of course written by the great Stan Lee, with fantastic art by Jim Steranko, who did a nice run on Cap, and then was pretty well known for his run on Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and in this story, Cap faces off with the Hulk on a rampage. Okay, this is what opens the story. Okay, and of course Rick Jones is there, and Cap manages to kind of fend off the Hulk long enough, and the Hulk bails, but Rick is kind of hurt, and so Cap takes him back to his, wherever his hideout, but his house, and to kind of help him recuperate. Right. He wasn't hurt bad, and Cap goes and comes back, and Rick is, dons the Bucky uniform. And like he did back in Avengers, I think number 4 or 5.
Oh, okay.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, and he's still kind of like, Rick, no, I'm never going to let anybody be Bucky again. Right. But Rick convinces him this time, like, look, give me a chance and I can prove myself. So he says, okay. And, so Rick gets to take up the mantle of Bucky. Doesn't last real long, historically speaking. But it's a storyline. But, and then in this story, Cap and Rick Jones, the new Bucky, they face off they find a nest of Hydra agents under New York City, I think, and they fight agents of Hydra in the sewer, and Madam Hydra's there, and it's just really a fun story.
Cool.
So, pretty classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good reading.
Cool. So, let's move into our newer books. We're like usual. We're gonna start with DC.
Yep.
We had a few annuals this week.
Yeah, a lot of annuals,
which is fun.
Yeah. A little more page count.
Yeah. So let's start off with Action Comics, Superman #1.
Yeah.
It's the annual for this one.
Right, and this Superman fights the Kryptonite Man, and it's a rad story.
Oh yeah, totally. I like that we had John Henry Irons.
Yeah, Steel. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that he kind of took the mantle of, look, you're Superman, but I still have work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, he's not going to get into like constant superheroing like he did previously, but
right. And so I feel like that's always kind of the question. And we read a book about this a while back, or I did, about you know what? It was Justice. Alex Ross.
Oh, okay.
Where the villains are like, look, what are the superheroes doing?
Right.
All the poverty, all this stuff, and so
right. Even though it was a ruse, but yeah.
But it was a good question.
Sure.
And so that's where we have John Henry Irons come in. And he's like, look, you can do all this superhero stuff. I'm going to go help.
He's fighting problems on the problem level,
right?
While these guys are fighting supervillains and like extra worldly threats and stuff.
Right.
So that's cool.
Yeah. But it doesn't have a lot to do with Kryptonite Man and Superman. But
Kryptonite Man, he wants revenge. He accepts an offer to go after, be given the power to go after Superman.
Yeah.
And he does. Lex Luthor's here. Of course, he's pulling the strings behind this. Good stuff. This is the first time I'd read a Luthor story in the New 52, so it's nice for that to be there, because he should be,
I like that we're getting a new take, not necessarily a new take on Kryptonite, but like a fresh face of Kryptonite with this New 52.
It's very, very rare in this, in the New 52, and I like that because, I've read a lot of Silver Age and Superman stories, and it's like, geez, Kryptonite is about as common as as it can be, and it's cool that it should be like, it's rare, and so when there's a Kryptonite oriented story, it's a bigger deal.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of what they did in the 70s, where they had all the Earth. The early 70s, they did a thing where like all the Kryptonite on Earth was turned into lead or iron or something, and so that there was no kryptonite around.
Cool.
But they kind of backpedaled on that, I think, post-crisis because, or even before that. But I think by the time the 80s were going, that's kind of a bad idea. We like to have some kryptonite around.
Yeah, and I mean...
Because then they would have people write just stories with, like, they would create synthetic kryptonite. It's just like... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You just found a way around that there's no kryptonite. Because it's like they immediately realized that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Let's just...
Some kryptonite is good, but...
they didn't even have to change the kryptonite on Earth to iron or lead or whatever. Right. All they had to do was like, look, guys, hold off on the kryptonite stories, okay? Let's not have so many of those.
Yeah.
A memo.
You can buy it in a grocery store or something.
Yeah. We'll get some kryptonite on the way home. But this was fun. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
One of my books that we're always looking forward to is Aquaman.
Jeff Johns written.
Yeah.
And that beautiful Ivan Rice art.
Yeah. This is number 13.
Yep.
And this is kind of the conclusion and the beginning of a new arc in the Aquaman series. We have the final confrontation between Aquaman and Black Manta, so there's that final confrontation.
Yeah, and boy is it awesome.
Yeah, but then there's also this but who was behind all of it? And so you have this cool ending of an arc and here's the bigger picture.
Because he was working with somebody, but we don't know who was.
Right.
Aquaman thought it might have been his brother, Orm, the Ocean Master, but we're not seeing that that's really the case.
Right.
So, but it's leading into kind of him kind of do some soul searching and maybe channeling a little bit of Prince Namor a bit more.
Because let's be honest, Aquaman has been just walked all over for a long time. No one's really cared about Aquaman.
Yeah, and in the New 52, it's like, wow, he is really a vital and exciting character.
Yeah. And
so they're just going with that direction continually, and that's cool.
I'm happy with it because I never gave Aquaman his fair shake until I started reading this New 52. And it's great. And I'll go back and read other Aquaman with a little more respect, I guess.
Yeah. Good deal.
Totally.
Cool. So we got the Batgirl Annual #1.
Which is super cool.
Gail Simone, she's been writing the series, and she wrote the annual as well. Mm-hmm. This was really cool.
Yeah, I loved this book this week. It's the Bat, the Cat, and the Owl. So you can kind of piece that together with the Court of the Owls backstory. Yeah, so
it's a Batgirl, Catwoman, and a female Talon from the Court of Owls.
Yeah.
And...
yeah, it took me a long time to read this, not because I was enjoying it so much. The art is spot on. It's beautiful, beautiful art by
Admira Wijaya?
Yeah.
Admira Wijaya. Ugh, sorry
for butchering your name, but you're awesome because
Yay! I really thought the art was lovely. I agree.
The story was cool because you got two different perspectives from Batgirl and then Catwoman, and then how they both kind of react to this Talon assassin, and it was cool. I really enjoyed it. The story was spot on. The art was superb.
And this is kind of a backdoor entry because I think this Talon is going to become a part of the Birds of Prey book, so that should be interesting. So, so this was cool.
Yeah,
I'm doing it.
Yeah, I did too.
Yay!
So our next annual, which I was so excited to get, was Justice League Dark, and it's the conclusion of the Book of Magic kind of series with Necro.
Yeah.
And there's so many.
Not to mention his allies, Felix Faust and Blackbriar Thorn. Who are no pushovers.
Dr. Mist.
Yeah, who was a member of the Justice League Dark, who was a traitor to them.
Yeah.
But I think it was because of his dead wife and promises that Faust and Necro had promised him, that kind of stuff,
Yeah. We have a ton of people show up in this, too.
Yeah, there's some guest appearances, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Frankenstein, Agent of Shade, shows up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But then, we also get Amethyst.
Yeah.
Princess of Gem World and the Eye Vampire guy.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, it was cool. Super cool kind of twist towards the very end, and I thought that was great. And then, I mean, we have this kind of teleportation at the end.
Yeah, won't give it away, but you were thinking that this was a mother box, right?
Yeah.
But this is making beep beep sounds and not ping pings.
Right.
And the teleportation wasn't a boom tube, so I'm like, this is no, I doubt this is a mother box.
Right.
But it makes you kind of wonder about what the nature of the books of magic really are.
Yeah.
Because it seemed technology based, not really magic.
Right.
So weird, and so I think that's going to lead into what goes on next in Justice League Dark.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
I'm so excited I started picking up this book.
Oh yeah. Jeff Lemire is a talented writer. I think he's writing Animal Man as well.
Okay, yeah.
And so yeah, I mean it's good stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Captain Marvel. We both agree that he could fit in this Justice League fairly simply.
Yeah, and it would make more sense than to have him in the regular Justice League book because come on, Captain Marvel and Superman on the same team.
And when you look at Justice League Dark, they don't have anyone that is Superman-esque.
Right. I mean, I think he would definitely fill a much needed role in that team, and kind of make them more a match for the current league and also the league that's to come, the Justice League of America.
Yeah.
But again, I wonder if Justice League Dark is going to be absorbed into JLA. So, but I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, I love this book. I don't want it to go anywhere. I want it to be continued.
But yeah, I want more with Captain Marvel. I want him to have a solo book, and I want to see him be in one of the Justice Leagues. I don't even care which one.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll see more of that later this year. But
yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I super enjoyed this.
Yeah.
And I think you did too.
Yeah. So a book that I've been looking forward to coming out finally hit the shelves. Mm-hmm. Joe Kubert Presents #1.
Yeah.
And this is it's a 6-issue limited series, and it's an anthology, so it's lots of short stuff. It's each issue is going to have several stories in it, and a couple each issue from Joe Kubert himself.
Yeah.
And he wrote and illustrated this really great Silver Age. It's a new, but set in the Silver Age continuity. Hawkman story, and boy was this cool.
Yeah.
And it was about the environment and stuff, and it was way cool.
Yeah.
I really dug it.
Yeah,
it was just really beautiful.
Right after the Hawkman story was what was it just called Spit? I think it was.
I don't know if that was directly following, but in here another of his stories. It's Spit. Yeah, it was. And it's a tale of like an orphan boy, and he's kind of become on this whaling ship.
Yeah.
So, and that's going to be serialized throughout this limited series. So that should be cool.
Yeah.
That was neat. It was all like kind of sepia tones or like black and white, and it felt real like Will Eisner-y. Yeah, the tone.
It was fairly, dark and kind of sad because it's this kid. Yeah. I mean, his name's Spit. Which, that doesn't bode well for you growing up.
Well, we also saw the return of kind of the Bronze Age, humor. I think it was Bronze Age humor kind of book, Angel and the Ape, and that was pretty fun. And also some World War II remembrances from. I can't remember who else did that, but this was a really cool book. I love this, and I'm really looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to pick this up because it was great. Sorry about that. Next in our DC is the Masters of the Universe #1.
The Origin of Skeletor.
Which was super rad.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a one-shot or if it's another limited series that's going to come out side by side with the other one that DC's putting out now, but boy, this was cool.
Yeah, I hope it's a series. It was interesting because I come from watching the cartoon where Skeletor is like, "Mah!" It's like kind of like this crazy like goofball.
He's kind of over the top, yeah.
Yeah, and this, he's dark and like kind of terrifying, and there's a reason he's just so evil.
Yeah.
And everything else, and this is a cool insight into that.
So let me ask you, what did you think of the art in this book?
It was interesting, especially when it came to him and his face.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I wish you could see the covers for this because I feel like a lot of the colors on the cover are mixed in throughout the book, and I thought that was cool. And I think half the time we only really see his his purple cloak that he's wearing.
Right. You're not seeing his face most of the time.
Right.
Like except for in the flashbacks when you see him as a boy.
Yeah.
Alongside, he's the half brother of Randor, who then becomes the king of Eternia. So
right.
But so you like the art of this?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I really did. It's Fraser Irving, who the same artist who did that Batman Incorporated Zero that you didn't like.
Yeah.
So
it's weird.
So it worked for Masters of the Universe, but not for Batman.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did like that in the flashbacks. It was black and white, and in the
yeah, they have the weird kind of cut to scene, but I really like how it's done. It's nice.
Yeah.
So
next DC and our last DC this week is
the Swamp Thing annual #1.
Yeah.
Scott Snyder, who's been writing the regular series, and surprise guest art by Becky Cloonan, which was what a treat.
Yeah.
This was really great, and this is really about. It's kind of a flashback within the Rot World storyline that's going on, but it's giving us some insight as to the relationship between Alec Holland and Abby Arcane, and his initial meetings with Anton Arcane.
Yeah.
At least within the New 52. I dug this. This was really good and hefty as far as word count. This was not a quick read, and I felt like, cool, I love that when that happens because I've gotten my money's worth.
Yeah, you did get your money's worth in this one because the art was incredible, the story was awesome, and there was a lot of it in there.
And I feel like you buy a Scott Snyder book, you're getting some reading.
Yeah.
He is not light on dialogue or inner monologue captions and stuff. He's dialogue heavy, but not boring.
Right.
He's you get the action and you get lots of this, so it's very I don't want to say dense, but sure that works.
Yeah. I like it because you're not sacrificing word count for art or art for word count.
Right.
And it does take you a while to read through this annual because you don't have I shouldn't say you're not using your imagination because whenever you read anything, your brain is working. But at the same time, your brain can take a chill pill because you can look right at the page and get everything you need to from the art,
right,
as well as the dialogue.
But this is a wonderful blend. We're getting excellent art, but the story is not just being told with that. You're really getting a lot of words, and I like that. So yeah, I really highly recommended this book.
Yeah, it's good. So we're leaving DC. We're going to Marvel.
Yeah.
A+X
#1 came out.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of cool. It kind of harkens back to the Marvel Team Up or Marvel 2-in-1 kind of stories. And this is 2 team up stories. So the first one is Captain America and Cable teaming up, and it's a time travel story. Cable coming from the far future, chasing I can't remember who it was. So one of the Trasks, so he was creating Sentinels. But it's back in World War II. He's combining Sentinels with sleeper robots, and of course Cap and Bucky are kind of hunting that down. So they kind of collide and team up, and that's cool. And the second story, actually I want to remember who wrote that Cap and Cable story, but the second story was I think it was
Wolverine.
Dan Slott wrote that. Right, Dan Slott wrote the Cap and Cable story. So good stuff. He's been writing Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
But the Wolverine and Hulk story was like Jeff Loeb, great writer. But and this is the reason I bought the issue, was Dale Keown, who did a classic run on the Hulk years ago, has returned and was doing this story, and it was fun. It's a fun book, another time travel story, and we won't reveal who they fight, but it's familiar to say the least.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this, but I gotta tell you, I don't think I'm gonna continue picking this up.
No.
It was a fun read, but it read too quickly.
Okay.
It's 2 stories, and they were each only like 10 or 11 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And for maybe 22 pages, $3.99 isn't justified.
Right.
So this was a fun book, but not an essential.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree.
So
next up we have by Mark Miller
and John Romita Jr. Hit Girl number 4.
Yeah. If last issue's ending was a cliffhanger, this one,
yeah, she got out of the trouble she was in. Yeah. But things are getting more complicated because of it.
Yeah.
Because she just got out of it just barely.
Yeah, just barely. Yeah. And so we have Marcus, and he's a good cop.
Yeah.
Her
stepdad.
Not just being a good guy, but he's a good detective as well.
Yeah, and he's really kind of working against dirty cops and trying to keep his stepdaughter, out of trouble, and he knows she's Hit Girl.
Yeah. But
he can't quite prove it.
Right. I don't know if he really wants to prove it either. You know what I mean?
Well, right. I think he probably would rather be wrong.
Uh-huh.
But their world, their world's about to get turned upside down.
Oh, yeah. And
it really happens by the end of the issue. Can't wait for the issue number 5 and see how they get out of all this.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to be the end of the series, but
excellent. Really?
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Well, this is...
Right,
yeah.
right.
But, really, it's wonderful comics.
Yeah.
So
finally, we are at the end.
The end of the end of the end of the Everything Burns storyline in The Mighty Thor. Matt Fraction wrote this.
Mm-hmm.
Thor's on trial or something, and I don't even know why, and honestly, I don't even care. Balder the Brave comes back, and that's awesome.
Yeah. It's because he brought Odin out of his exile. He tricked Odin out of the exile.
Right.
Of all of the Everything Burns storyline that we've read, this was my favorite.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because, we had everyone we cared about. We had the Warriors 3, Lady Sif.
Yeah.
We had Thor. We didn't have any Loki, which... Yeah.
He certainly mentioned, but yeah.
We have Odin, we have, we just have everyone, and we have the return. So, I thought it was cool. The trial was interesting. But I'm glad it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm I am just bored out. I just want to stay away from Asgard and this stuff for some time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said before, I'm I'll go read old Thor stuff if I want to read Thor, but I'm definitely not going to be doing the Marvel now with Thor. So
right.
So you got the Winter Soldier number 12,
and last issue that I picked up, we talked about.
Is it time to drop this book?
Right.
What's going on?
And if we had dropped it, it would have been a terrible, terrible decision.
This was a really good book. Ed Brubaker is still knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
Or again, I should say.
Yeah. So it starts off by kind of following Wolverine.
Yeah.
And his kind of inner thoughts while he's hunting someone. And then later on you realize, oh crap, he's hunting Winter Soldier. And so then it goes into explaining it as to why he needs to hunt him, and then Winter Soldier kind of gets re-brainwashed.
Here's what it is. Remember, his old backstory was when he was left for dead. After the bomb with Zemo and everything, near the end of World War II. The Soviets got a hold of him, and he became the Winter Soldier. They're their sleeper agent, their killer or whatever. He wants to get back into one of his old subroutine mission, so he'll find Natasha,
right,
the Black Widow, who's been kidnapped and has also been turned against Shield and stuff. So of course Wolverine and Captain America and Hawkeye are up there, and they're like, what are we gonna do? Of course, we gotta take care of this because Nick Fury's out of commission and all that stuff.
right.
So they're fighting Winter Soldier as he's gonna go on this, and they kind of track him down, but they don't know what his mission was. They thought it was gonna be like to go and kill Natasha.
Right.
No, it's people involved with Natasha. So who does he go after but Daredevil, the man without fear? And boy, was I excited to turn the page and see Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I am so glad
I'm so excited for the next issue.
Yeah. Yeah, so excited.
Oh.
It's so good. This series has been, it's had a slump for like an issue or two, and then it's skyrocketed. It's very good.
Yeah, excellent. Winter Soldier, solid.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that's it for Marvel Comics this week. IDW.
IDW, the Doctor Who #2.
That's right.
It was good.
Yeah.
It seemed like a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah. How into these are you? Well, you guys, you've read. No, we've both read the first couple issues of this new series.
It seems interesting because it's Doctor Who, and I love Doctor Who, but I don't know if it's something that I would go out of my way to continue to pick up.
And I'm kind of also thinking that too. Like, wow, this was kind of cool. I'm thinking like, is this a great comic that I'm just dying to read every time, or am I just buying it because I love to watch Doctor Who?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, I'm really considering maybe I won't continue to pick up Doctor Who comics. Maybe I'll kind of stop after the Star Trek and Doctor Who thing is over.
And
because I pick up plenty of other stuff that I'm really excited to read.
Yeah.
Like the storylines in those. And this feels like it's like watching the show, but it's really missing something.
Yeah.
Even though, sure, they're getting the characters right, but,
Yeah. You don't get his...
I feel like,
mannerisms and...
Well, right. And I feel like comics that are, working with, a show that's going on, they're so limited in what they can do because it can't really affect any continuity in the show. They end up being kind of bland comics.
Mm-hmm.
If you go and try and go read some old Star Trek comics or something like that, you know what I'm talking about. They're like, oh man, and I'm just, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to continue reading this.
I wouldn't blame you.
So, it's pretty cool. Mark Buckingham's art is still really cool, but, whatever.
Yeah. So, last time we read Happy by Morrison.
Not last time. A few episodes ago. Except it came out like a month ago. But,
I meant last time we read it.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. I should let you finish.
Last time I read it,
Yeah, I was pretty mad on it too, and I was like so disappointed. I'm like, this is Grant Morrison?
Yeah.
Feels like Gareth Ennis. And it still does, kinda.
I like this one better.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I gave it another shot because this issue I enjoyed way more.
Yeah.
And I will continue to pick up this. It's only a 4-issue limited series.
Yeah.
Although I have a feeler that they'll continue it in other limited series.
Okay.
But yeah, this was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're seeing, this imaginary character or the imaginary friend is kind of working with our friend Nick here.
Yeah.
And he's not convinced this is real, and he's trying to get out of the situation where the mob is after him. They want this code to get into somebody's like inheritance or like money they had stashed away.
Right.
So yeah, it's getting more interesting.
Yeah.
So cool. I'm in. I'm not like, oh, why did I pick this up like the last time? Now I'm kind of getting into this. Yeah. So
I care more about the characters now because they have a reason to be characters. Like
the reason to be characters.
Well, they have a reason to have a story.
Their motivations are becoming more clear, and okay.
Yeah. And like for me, like that should be earlier on. Your motivations,
right.
And so waiting to the second issue, like had I picked up Happy, I wouldn't have picked up the second one.
Right.
And so, yeah, I'm glad you picked it up because now I'd like to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, it's getting interesting. So
yeah. So last on our list is our webcomic of the week.
Yeah.
I don't know. One day we will have cool effects and this webcomic is from lonelyinfermo.com. Lonely and then INFERMO.
Infermo, not Inferno?
Yeah, Infermo.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. It's by, I think it's C.D. Ford. That's the name, the copyright, and everything I found. So.
Okay.
They're standalone comics. I love standalone comics.
The comic strips.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
And so each is a new kind of strip, and I like it.
Okay.
It's funny. My favorite one, I was kind of randoming.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Random feature.
And I landed on one about Falcor.
Oh, from the Neverending Story?
Yeah, and the kid's writing it, and everyone, like, looks up, and he's like, oh, it's the dork kid who likes to read, and then, like, Falcor, like, lunges into him and just, like, starts devouring the mean kids. And,
oh, man.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
That is funny, because I was thinking, because I remember he chases the mean kids at the end of the original one.
Right. He just devoured, he's, like, covered in, like, blood.
Mm.
Yeah. They are funny comics. I go back and look at them every once in a while and just kind of pick up where I left off. And usually if you hit random, you'll get some good stuff.
Yay.
So, yeah. That's our webcomic of the week.
Yeah, and I think that's the show for this week. So thanks for listening.
Oh, I wanted to make a note.
Oh.
I think at the beginning of the show when we were doing our back issue stuff, I didn't mention that the Submariner was in Tales to Astonish from Marvel Comics.
That's just a reprint book.
Oh, okay.
But it's reprinting Submariner #1.
I see what you're saying.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Tricky Marvel.
Yeah. So anyway, that is our show for the week. And so yes, we'll.
Yeah. Just a reminder: our email is comic.reflections@gmail.com. Hit us up on Facebook.
Yes, like us on Facebook.
We're
subscribe to us on YouTube.
Yeah, totally.
Leave comments on our videos.
We want to hear from you.
Yes.
Because that makes our job more fun.
Yay.
Yeah. So, talk to you later.
Bye.